Recording. Oh. Oh, how impressive was that? Little piano to kick it off. This very special episode with the one and only Raleigh Cain. She's excited. I'm excited too. Hey, Floridians, thanks for tuning in. Today, my guest, the one and only, extremely talented writer, actor, producer, traveler, skier, and just overall one of the good ones, Raleigh Cain.
Thank you, Peter.
Woo, Raleigh, the pride of Gardner, Kansas.
Yeah, Gardner, Kansas. Not born there, but raised mostly there.
Gardner, Kansas sounds like the type of place that it's good to be from, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
You're not there anymore, but you know, it was a good place to be
Yeah,
from. What would you say?
Most people are still there.
Hey, I mean, someone's got to live there, you know. I'm not opposed to it.
Exactly.
Raleigh, you are an accomplished writer and producer and actor, getting acclaim from your pilot, which is called Story of Me. No, Story of You. Story of Us.
You were in it. Story of You.
Story of You. That's right.
Jesus, Peter.
Well, the name changed. What was the original title?
Oh, it was A Family Affair, but then I like Story of You more.
Yeah, I like the story.
So actually, when we filmed, it was A Family Affair.
That's right. And should be noted, it's today, the day of recording. I know this.
We were shooting like a year ago right now.
Exactly a year ago. How wild is that? Just before the shutdown.
It's either felt like yesterday or like 90 years ago. I know everyone keeps saying that, but
yeah. No, it's true. Okay, before we get into that, we like to do the plugs up top.
Okay.
Like Joe Buck, Wayne Rooney, Raleigh. What can you drive our listeners to? Any sort of social media platform or any projects that
well, Story of You that Peter was in used to be a family fair. It just finished up at Maui Film Festival. It was in Catalyst. It was in Series Fest where it won Best Drama. Amazing. So that was great. Now I find out it's submitted to some more festivals, South by Southwest and Tribeca and stuff, but we don't find out for a while. And Incredible. Then you can watch the trailer on my Instagram. It's just my name. And then I have a new pilot that I wrote that I'm going to do a table read of soon. So I'll see if I can, I don't know if I would, maybe I'll post segments of it, but if anybody listening has money and wants to give me money to make it, great.
Yeah.
And then, I just did a short film with my buddy, Jason Klein. In a day, we just walked around LA and shot it, and it's on my Instagram. It's kind of funny. So
amazing. Yeah. Can anyone listening can go to your Instagram to see the
Yeah, my website is also like raleighcain.com, and then my Instagram is just raleigh.cain. So
nice.
Yeah,
is there
all there.
A living home for anybody curious about the pilot to see that? Or
the trailer is
the next one?
You can't see the full pilot yet because I have to wait for all the festivals. But the trailer and my Instagram has little clips here and there.
All right, great. Yeah. We'll tune into the Instagram. Now, Raleigh, you were able to shoot this, and I'm so thankful that you cast me in it because it was so fun and brought about so many fun. It was just, anytime I think of the project, it reminds me of a very, very fun time right before, the lockdown and coronavirus struck the world. Tell me what it took for you to write a pilot and then to seek funding on your own and just really go forward with this, because you've written a lot of things in the past that you didn't necessarily produce. Like why was this so near and dear to your heart?
Well, I feel like anyone listening that's a creator, but you can relate, or anyone listening in general, that whenever you do something last year filming the pilot was the happiest I've ever been. And I was like, I don't even care as long as I get to keep doing this and I can like survive. Yeah. That's what it's all about. And I know that sounds hokey, but it really was like with your friends shooting something that is fun and like meaningful. But I actually had the idea for a long time. Because I grew up I have like a very large, interesting mixed family, and I always thought nature versus nurture was interesting.
Right.
But long story short, we took my stepdad for his 65th birthday to wine country. I got so drunk that my hangover was like one of those depressing, like, what am I doing with my life hangovers? And I locked myself in my apartment and wrote the pilot in 3 days.
Wow. Yeah. That's
so,
something like 40 pages.
I wrote 30 pages. Yeah.
Wow.
But I had the idea. I'm kind of a binge writer. I sit on an idea for a while and then I just like vomit it out.
Well, couple things. Yeah. I mean, what you just said resonates with anybody that, takes on their own creative projects. We need to have deadlines.
Yeah.
We don't exist without deadlines. But then also being on that set, I must have told you this, but you had done so much work leading up to the shooting that obviously you were wearing so many hats because you were the writer, you were directing, you were acting in it. And being on that set, it did not feel like work. You had gone through all the motions to set up the perfect, we think so much about bubbles, or we talk about, confined campuses, but that set and that setting was so well set up. What did you learn from prior projects that you had done or been a part of that led you to, to put such a focus on that and to creating a specific environment?
I think being an actor I got into this initially as an actor, and lately I've been directing, writing, and producing. Yeah. Being an actor on a lot of very low budget things, I know that when people treat you well and when people don't, and when I know that being comfortable and being fed is so important. And so I was just like, I need to make sure I'm asking them to work for very cheap. So right. I don't want them to sit there thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? Again, I think I felt so proud. I don't know if I think more women are becoming I think it's not as big of an issue anymore, but I think I saw a lot of my guy friends, you made your own album, and my other friend Anthony shot his own series. And I had a lot of guy friends making their own things, but I didn't know too many girls, and I didn't feel like I had the confidence that who was I to raise money and shoot my own shit? Who wants to even watch that? And I think
what does it take to overcome that?
It really was little by little. I think I just got so fed up with not getting auditions and not doing anything that I was like, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's, man, it's not like there's any sort of secret, but so many success stories start with that path of just kind of starting it up yourself. What you just said reminds me of Vin Diesel, who, think about him as however you'd like, but he was bouncing around Hollywood for so long, and people were casting. If you remember the movie Boiler Room with Ben Affleck,
I actually didn't see that, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's worth checking out. But he's cast as an Italian guy, and he's just kind of he's got this olive complexion, and so people didn't know how to cast him or categorize him or what to make of him. So he made this film about his struggles with his identity and his skin color and stuff. And then, so much opened up for him. So, you kind of, based off what you're saying, you just kind of created a role that you would love to play.
Yeah.
And, then people see you in that, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, of course you can do this,
Yeah. It's hard to, sometimes mainly with the headshots, I don't know if you get this, but I get often well, you don't really look funny, but you are, but you're pretty, but you don't glam it up enough. So we don't really know. We need you to either lean heavy into the glamour headshots, or we don't think the comedy ones work for you. And I'm so I'm so Gardner, Kansas that I don't know.
The people that are in charge of judging headshots and looking at them so oftentimes forget that they can use their imagination. You know?
But I also see what they mean. If no one knows you, they do want to look at a photo and be like, oh, that. And I guess I haven't, which I don't really care. I feel like I don't want to waste any more precious time trying to figure out how to make people look at my photo and go, oh, that. Right. So that's probably also what it is you and I just, all right, I'll just make my own stuff. And hopefully if you see it, you can go, oh, that's what she is.
You know what makes that confusing? That a lot of, I think, creatives or actors would say listening to this is I agree with you. It's like, yeah, they should know your thing right away. But in so many auditions, I like the breakdown or the casting director will say, this is comedy, but don't, but be very small. But like, we're not, this is comedy, but we're not playing the comedy of it. Just play very serious, down to earth. And it's like, well,
I'm going to do my own fucking thing. And if you like it, great.
Yeah. It's that's the easiest way to get into some young actor's head. It's such a bummer. And like, not to say that I'm any more successful than I have been in the past, but I'm definitely more at ease with myself, just from creating those projects. And I bet you are too. And we were experiencing that on a weekly basis because you and I were sketch team partners at a few comedy theaters.
That was like some of the best times of my life, was just our sketch team just writing dumb stuff and
time cut short. And so anyhow, let's get into Gardner, Kansas. And, to piggyback off of what we were just talking about, being on a sketch comedy team. The team was called Jeff. Were you a part of the naming of the team?
I joined the month after the team started, and whoever Jeff was that wanted Jeff left, and I think I took his spot. So
there was a guy that was on the original team, and he was like, let's name it Jeff. You think he had an ego?
Well, I don't know if his name was Jeff, but if it was, Jesus.
Yeah.
Maybe he's working for Trump now.
And then I had joined just after that. Mm-hmm. But so to combine the two ideas that we're talking about here, are there funny people in Gardner, Kansas, or like what's the tone of the town? Because
for sure. I mean, I don't want anyone, I don't know I doubt anyone from my town is going to listen to this unless I beg them. But I just finished Schitt's Creek.
Oh yeah.
And not in like the hokey ways, but my town really does feel like Schitt's Creek.
Really?
Like, there's some shitty people that would be closed-minded and like redneck, but I realize it's just because honestly, that everyone I knew that I grew up with, the nicest people, not a lot of diversity, but the small amount that there is, at least my group of friends, it's very like, it felt kind of like Schitt's Creek. And there are some outliers, like the towns I haven't lived there since I graduated high school at 18. I go back to see my family, but like besides seeing my friends, I don't really know what it's like now, but at least the town I grew up in, I felt like it was a nice, safe, like literally what they want, make America great again, whatever is like, they imagine, I think, that. And so I sometimes see when people get hung up on that saying, because they're like, our town was nice.
Yeah, I think based on what you're saying, and I this is an interesting perspective, that anybody that follows that MAGA movement thinks that America should just be a collection of very small towns, and we can self-govern ourselves, and I have the ability to make as much money as possible, but but it within the confines of my hometown. I mean,
what's your hometown like? How big was it?
So Cape Coral, great question. I mean, Cape Coral, we lived in the shadow of Fort Myers, which not necessarily was a big town, but it was just more well-known as far as having a beach and like a city environment.
Yeah.
But the tone of it wasn't necessarily funny, but just very random. And there are very, very interesting pockets of people, just like in, Los Angeles, you'll find, hipsters over here, people with money over here, people with generational wealth over here, urban areas, underdeveloped areas, they're, where to find those geographically. Like, in Cape Coral, Florida, seemingly taking that model, you would say, oh, these are the people from the Northeast. People from New York lived here in this area, and their kids went to this high school. Then the born and raised Floridians went to this high school, and their parents lived in this area.
Oh, so you're from like a big, like, I only had one high school in my town. How many did you have?
Oh, I must have had 6 at least.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, and only 2 of them were private. But if I could block it off, North Fort Myers had like all the redneck kids, and everybody knew that. Like, that's not a dig, I don't think. Mariner High School had a good deal of a good deal of people from the Northeast. Cape High had a lot of That was just a school that nobody wanted to go to.
Mm.
It was just like, this is my third choice, and just kind of like a forgotten school. Like, you didn't get a lot of like public funding. And then there were the two private schools, Bishop Verot and Canterbury, and Canterbury was like private, like less than 1,000 kids, I think. And they had a lacrosse team. Like, that was their big,
Yeah.
like that vibe.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of people that think that their kids are getting into Harvard or something like that. And then
They probably are.
I mean, yeah, they might. Who knows? And then the other schools just kind of like were filled with like transplants and stuff like that. But the mood based off of that was just so random. So it's like, the things we would laugh at that were centric to our area were just like, oh yeah, did you hear Gator was the name of a kid I went to high school with. Oh yeah, Gator went mudding, he got stuck, and he tried to get out. Now his truck is halfway in the mud, and the cops tried to pull him out, and they found weed on him, and they arrested him. Like oh, like that is not as random.
You're from this section of town that is my town. We have that in common.
Yeah, for 2 years I went to North High, which is the home of the Red Knights.
Oh, good old Red Knights.
Essentially the Rednecks.
Yeah.
And then
we were the Trailblazers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because we were on the Santa Fe Trail.
Oh, interesting. And the Santa Fe Trail, famous for?
I mean, that's like where one of the first the Santa Fe Trail from one of the first passages. Like, I think the railroad was on it, or like the Wells Fargo it goes to Santa Fe, but it goes to Gardner, Kansas.
But that's, yes.
And now the train still goes through like that area.
Holy cow.
I'm probably butchering this, but I'm
looking
this
up. That was one way to get west, to go on the Santa Fe Trail.
Mm-hmm. The Santa Fe Trail. Mm-hmm. Maybe it started as a wagon. Like, there's the Oregon Trail and the Santa Fe Trail. They just didn't make a game out of it.
The Santa Fe Trail sounds like a lot more fun. It's like,
it was.
It sounds like a lot more corn in your salsa.
Yeah. Just salsa in general.
Or any salsa. Yeah. Oregon, yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get into food later, but So it sounded like a small town. What's it like going back when you get to go back for the holidays?
After I left. So after I left, now I only go really back. My parents have remarried so many times that we don't live in Gardner anymore, but my stepdad owns some land in Gardner still that he has a barn on, and he's trying to build a barn apartment that he's going to live in, which will be sweet with fire pits and out in the country to go hunting. But a lot of my friends from high school still live in Gardner, so we meet at the one really cute coffee shop. Again, it's like Schitt's Creek, really cute coffee shop. Best, they make crepes on the weekends. And then they put in a Walmart after I graduated, and they put in a Dairy Queen after I graduated.
Oh, two very cool, notorious places for high school kids to hang out.
But I hate it. No, I worked as a car hop at Sonic, and the hangout was at Sonic Drive-In.
Oh, that's a different kind of cool. That's bordering on hipster cool.
You put vodka in your green apple slush.
Oh, yeah. That's a party. But so no big, what you're saying is other than Sonic, which I guess.
A lot of for it, field parties, but not
right.
But
other than Sonic, which is kind of like a mid-tier, fast food.
We had Sonic and McDonald's. We had Sonic and McDonald's.
Oh, okay. But there weren't a lot of Walmarts or Targets or.
No Target. Walmart is still the only. It's sad because it used to have more small mom and pop things, and now they don't really survive because of Walmart.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's like one of those towns where that happens.
You said you used to party in the woods?
I ran from the cops one time in the woods, and
what happened?
I was at a party, and I was just drinking Bud Light, and it was 2 weeks before my 21st birthday. I was home from college, and I didn't even want to go to this party. And then the cops came. Was it
filled with high school kids? Was it high schooler?
No, it was a mixture of it was I guess I was a sophomore in. Oh God, was I older?
College?
I think it was a group of my friends were going, but also. One of the younger siblings, I can't remember.
That's where you get
literally seniors in high school, freshmen. Yeah, I don't know.
But the high school college crossover summer party, that's where you get into some real trouble.
Yeah. I didn't even, the cop caught me and then he said, I can either call your mom or I can give you an MIP. And I was like, call my mom. She knows I'm here.
She caught you running?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, he caught me. I was running and then I got back to the main spot and my friend who didn't run just said like, yeah, I had a Bud Light. And they were like, fine, just go home. Or he said like, I wasn't drinking and they just didn't ask because he was like, didn't run. And so he was going to drive home and I was like, Derek, take me home. And I got in his truck and then the cop came over with the flashlight and then he looked down at my legs and they were covered in like, it had rained. So they were covered in mud or something. He could just tell that I had been running because my feet were wet.
Hold on a sec. Back up. I want to explore this because it's so interesting to see how different people react to cops or like authority figures breaking up parties. So you're at this party, you're hanging out with your friends. Was it a bonfire environment or no?
Oh yeah. Well, there was like in the barn and then there was like a bonfire outside.
So we would have the same thing. We would go out to the woods, which the woods are really the Everglades. You know, there's standing water everywhere. It's gross. Unless you knew someone that was rich that had access to like a beach bonfire situation. Few and far between, let me tell you. Despite, you know, being on the coast.
Like Epstein situation.
Exactly like that. Yeah. In fact, he was at a lot of those parties and
he was trying to get people, hey guys, come to the beach actually.
He got along with a lot of my girlfriends. I don't, you know, I can't put two and two together, but something happened there. Anyhow, yeah. So yeah, if the cops were called or we saw the cherries and the berries light up, you know, the lights on top of the
never heard it called
on top of the cop car.
Are you almost a dad yet?
If we saw the cherries and berries roll up,
okay.
I scattered. Everybody like scattered. So so you're at this bonfire.
That's what I mean. Like you just don't know what to do. You're like, I'm not even that drunk, but I don't want to get an MIP, so I'll just leave.
I don't want to talk to a cop at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at this party, and how do the cops roll up, and then what happens next?
Well, same as like you just said. You just run, and then I ran, and then I hid out for a while, and then once I thought it died down, long story short, I ran back, found my friend, but then they caught me. And like you were saying, how we were
out there for like 30 minutes?
I don't 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Maybe less. I am so white privileged here because literally I'm talking back to this cop. He's like, we can either call your mom or I can give you an MIP, which call your mom? I was like, call my mom.
Sounds like you had a cool mom.
I do. She's the one that told me to go to the party. But I called my mom and she was like, yeah, Derek can take her home. And then the cop like just let me go.
I always love, those weird stories. And like, you know, the only difference between the story that you're telling and like a story from Florida is there might've been a keg of like Corona. And then there was like,
oh, that's fancy. We had a keg of Bud Light.
That's nice. But we would also have
Busch Light.
Oh, probably. Oh yeah. Busch. Cause Kansas. But then we would also have like Smirnoff Ice and everybody would be wearing like Aeropostale or American Eagle.
Ooh, you say Aeropostale, I say Aeropostale.
Oh, okay. Which is correct?
Depends on what universe you're living in. I don't know.
Well, in the Kansas universe, another interesting fact, you brought up your mom and you said your parents have been remarried a ton of times. Is that common? Is that common in Kansas where like you're in a small community and you're just kind of like, you know, you date everybody there and then you move to the next town?
No, most people I grew up with, I think their parents stayed together. 50-50 split. There's a lot of religious people in small towns, so they stay for, you know,
I knew a few friends growing up, their parents would just kind of hop around.
That was the dryer, sorry.
Oh, okay.
There's also not a lot of choice. If you live in a small town, it's like, well, I could leave you, but then there's not much else, so I guess I'll stay.
Yeah, there's you, or there's, I don't know, Lucy, who's got, you know, her two front teeth are missing.
Exactly.
Okay, well, speaking of wild things to happen in our hometowns, we're going to get into the first segment here. Oh, I'm going to have to edit this. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of wild things to happen in our hometowns, we're going to get into our first segment called Headlines. Boom. Okay, headlines. Round one. I'll read the headline, and you have to tell me whether You have to tell me why this happened in your hometown, and then in response,
Okay.
I will tell you.
But it really did, or we don't know. We don't know.
You won't know until the third round.
Okay,
So
got
round
it.
one, you argue why it happened in your hometown, and I'll argue why it happened in my hometown. Then
What if I'm like, that definitely didn't happen in my town? Can I say no, that didn't happen?
Well, that's for round two. Round two, you would argue
Okay.
why there's no way it happened in your hometown.
Okay.
And I will do the same, and then round three, you'll guess.
Okay, cool.
And hopefully we will each give more insightful details as to our upbringing and our hometowns throughout this journey.
Cool.
All right, groovy. Okay, so here's the headline. Police set up a camera to find a mountain lion, but saw something totally weird instead. And I'm going to read the sub headline because it goes along very well with this. When officers reviewed the footage from November 21 to 28, quote unquote wildlife didn't include big cats. Instead, they saw coyotes, raccoons, skunks, plus a few gorillas, a werewolf, and even Santa.
What's that word when they're taxidermied?
Oh, was there a lot of taxidermy in
everybody
Gardner?
hunts and just keeps their animals. Yeah.
So it's like an Ace Ventura 2 situation where you would walk into like a boyfriend's house and they would have dead animals everywhere?
I mean, not like it wouldn't be surprising. Yeah. I mean, my family had like deer horns on all over the place, sheds. But
Did you use them? Or would they be purely
They're just
decorative?
like decoration. We had a chandelier over our dining room table that was deer antlers.
Whoa.
Very cowboy rustic. Like if West Elm was like cowboy rustic.
But the ones that are hanging on the wall, would you use that as like a coat rack or something?
You could. We did not. They were more decorative.
I see. My goodness. And you would go hunting like once a year?
And then my real dad, my family in Reno, Nevada, which is equally as crazy, actually more crazy. Reno, I should have talked about Reno, but I didn't grow up there.
Well, thanks.
I didn't grow up there. But my dad,
Raleigh, no matter what you talk about, I just want you to know this is the story of you.
Thank you.
Quick plug for the pilot.
Thank you. He went caribou hunting, and then he had them taxidermied, and they were on our walls, and we would like sometimes put a little cigarette butt in their mouth or like hang like decorations from their antlers. They were always festive.
So, but I mean.
Oh yeah, but this story happened because people go hunting in my town. Why did it happen in your town?
So much taxidermy though.
Yeah.
Like how many taxidermied animals were in your house? Like 10 to 12, you'd say?
Oh, I mean, at my real dad, no. I mean, the 2 caribou at my dad's house, and then we just had a bunch of sheds, antlers, in my mom and dad's house in Kansas.
Sheds filled with antlers.
Sheds are what the antlers are when they shed it. It's called
Oh, very.
Yeah, our dogs would bring them to them. They'd find them in the woods. The deer would shed his antlers, and they would find sheds.
So deers are like losing antlers like baby teeth?
Yeah, and they regrow them.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've never seen that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it, but my mom shot a deer off our back porch in her PJs because we had a salt lick and it was a buck, and people go hunting at our like farm all the time. And she was drinking her coffee on our back porch in her PJs, and she saw this huge buck that everybody had been trying to get, and she went and got a rifle and shot it. But I think she gave it away. I don't think we stopped it.
She gave away the shotgun, or she still has it?
No, the deer.
Okay.
The buck that she killed.
I just want to know if she's got that shotgun and.
Oh, she still does.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Well, based on the headline, it says that they also saw gorillas, werewolves, and Santa. And so it's obviously like some kids messing around with, whoever set up this this camera. And that, in an earlier episode of this podcast, we talked about the Florida Wildlife Federation and how they set up different wildlife cameras around town. If you're a kid and you're just looking for something to do, you're going to go mess with one of those things or you're going to mess with anything. So I think these kids like just dressed up as Santa Claus and werewolves, and we're just messing with whomever. Did you guys pull a lot of pranks in Gardner? Was that a prank town?
One time a girl, so the Derek kid that I was talking to you about, he was my first kiss.
Okay.
He was dating this other girl in high school one time. I can't remember the story exactly, but basically she put a dead calf in the back of his pickup truck because like they broke up and they had a bad breakup. So that was interesting.
Oh
And
my
then
God. Wait, where was he parked?
Just in the high school parking lot.
And there
But
was calves, just cows?
No,
just
she took a
walking
dead
around?
calf from her farm and put it in the back of his truck.
You can't do that in like a Corolla. She must have had a pickup truck herself.
Oh
right?
yeah, like most people did.
Everyone had pickup trucks.
Most people. I had an Xterra.
Is that like a pickup truck too? What's
No,
that?
Nissan Xterra is like the little small SUV.
Okay, but would it hold a calf?
Yeah.
Have you ever had to transport a dead calf
I'm
for revenge?
not crazy, so I don't do that.
Oh, that's
I
good.
also don't. I didn't own cows, but
That's
Derek was a dairy farmer.
That's a wild
Maybe
prank.
he put the calf in her truck. It was one or the other. He was a dairy farmer. Is still.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
That's sadistic. That's a sadistic prank, though.
For senior prank, we talked about it a lot, but we never did it. We were gonna. One of my friends had the key. His parent was a teacher at the school, and he had the keys to the school, and we were gonna take Derek's cows and put some of them in the school. But we would have gotten, if we got caught, that would have like destroyed a lot of property, and we would have had to pay a lot of money. So we didn't do that. But we talked about it a lot. Did you?
As far as senior pranks go, this was less organized, but essentially the star quarterback of the high school stole the English midterm exam, photocopied it in the teacher's lounge, then put it back in the English teacher's desk, took the photocopy to Barnes & Noble, put out the APB to everyone that was in that class. Everyone swarmed to take those notes down, or to take the answers down. And it was just multiple choice, 100 vocab questions. And a lot of people got like 90s and like 95% on them, but a good handful of kids were expelled and got their whole lives ruined. Not a very coordinated effort. Why do you see that this headline, it's impossible for it to happen in Gardner, Kansas?
Because Gardner's too cool for that. I mean, yeah, we have our problems, but we're not sitting around like wasting people's time. Gardner people also really respect law enforcement, and they don't want to waste their time. So
right.
That's why.
I'm going to forego the rest of this game and just tell you that it did happen in Gardner.
This year?
This was published in the Gardner
Daily or whatever.
Yeah, the Gardner newspaper, 2016. But mountain lion sightings in Kansas are few and far between. But according to local news station KTLA 5,
this kid must have just moved to Gardner because Gardner's changed. It's not what I grew up in anymore.
Got it. Gardner Police Lieutenant Lee Kraut reiterated they really did love the surprise in an interview with KSHB. Even if they weren't looking to make us laugh, they were looking to make somebody laugh, and that's what we want to put out there.
My friend who's still a teacher there, she'll send me crazy headlines from Gardner, so I won't say any now because you might have them, but if you don't have them, I will read some of them at the end. Because she's like, do you miss Gardner yet?
That's the perfect kind of cop. It's like a bumbling, maybe he doesn't carry a gun. He's just like, hey, come on, guys. Like, don't make my job any harder than it is. And like, then we relate to him. It sounds like a pretty even-headed guy. But what were the headlines that you have?
Well, what if you have them for sharing?
That's the only headline.
Oh, that's the only one we do. Okay.
Yes. And I wanted to skip to the end just because you were so proud of Gardner.
I know.
Of course.
So one was like, I guess there was flyers everywhere. Get your pitchforks and flags because they were going to Kansas City to protest about Trump losing the vote, saying that but pitchforks was on there. But then my favorite this summer, there was an old man that had like a rifle or something, and he was on the streets and they interviewed him. He was there to protect the people protesting for Black Lives Matters because he said, if people want to protest, they should have the right to do it. And I'm here to protect them.
And he just deputized himself.
Really sweet.
Oh my goodness. I guess, yeah, that's like that's an example if you saw that in Gardner, Kansas, you buy it, but on the streets of Los Angeles, no.
Yeah.
No one's holding a rifle protecting protesters.
No. But in Gardner, it's like that's like the town I grew up in, where it's like a sweet old man that's like, if that's what you want to speak out about, I'm here to make sure you can.
Gosh dang it, that's beautiful.
I know.
Another beautiful thing we like to talk about on the podcast, it's food.
Hell yeah.
Practicing keyboard over here. So these are my stings. Okay, so Kansas, famous for barbecue, of course.
Yeah.
So what you eating in Gardner, Kansas? So when I think of Kansas, I think ribs. Are people actually eating ribs there, or is that a misconception?
Oh no, we do. And actually my family made ribs last time I was home. Most people have smokers. Like everyone has a smoker. Smoked chicken wings are great if you're trying to be a little bit healthier, but you want smoked.
Fully smoked.
Smoked, yeah.
Okay.
My mom smoked a corned beef. That was great.
What's the time for smoked chicken wings, smoked corned beef, smoked ribs?
Oh, I don't know, because when I go home, I never cook. I don't have a smoker. I just eat.
But it's a cool thing. It's a cool activity to be happening in the background while you're kind of just drinking.
And it tastes great. I don't in LA, I don't eat that much meat, but I do save it all up for when you eat meat with every meal in Kansas. Is it that way in Florida?
You know what? Yeah. In a lot of parts of the South, the idea of a vegan or a vegetarian is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're wanting something light, it's like, oh, well, have this,
have a Cobb salad.
Cobb salad with steak ancho dressing and a side of ribs. So so everybody has a smoker there, really?
I mean, most people, yeah, it's normal. And my family, I actually like barbecue at home almost more, but our wedding, we had Q39 barbecue catered. That was the buffet. That was great.
Yeah.
Burnt ends. Kansas City's definitely known for burnt ends.
And you guys are really eating those. Like it's not like
burnt ends is like the sweet part of it's like the fall apart part of the rib, and then a burnt end sandwich is great. Ooh, my brother for Christmas almost sent me a Kansas City Joe's Z-Man sampler pack, and you can make sandwiches at home.
Are there any secret Kansas foods that people need to know about?
Gates barbecue sauce, you can't find a lot of places, but it's Gates is one of the original barbecue, a great barbecue place in Kansas City, and it is a thinner, spicier. Everyone knows Casey Masterpiece, but Gates is the thinner, spicier. I like to mix the two.
Because Kansas has its own type of barbecue sauce, right?
Yeah. Casey Masterpiece is the sweeter, thicker, and then technically, Kansas City is Missouri.
Okay.
And I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, but I grew up on the Kansas side. Sorry,
and people like it. People like it, right? People like the sweeter barbecue, and they defend it, right? They're pretty.
Well, I mean, it's spicy too. It's more wet. So what's the dry? I don't like dry barbecue, but I think it's Nashville barbecue's the dry barbecue.
You don't like a dry rub?
No, I like a lot of sauce. And that's
So Kansas barbecue is sloppy and sweet. It's tons of sauce and it's sweet, and everyone loves it.
And spicy. I keep saying spicy.
It is spicy.
Yes, that's what I was saying. The Gates barbecue sauce is spicier and thinner than the Casey Masterpiece.
Oh.
Yes, we have a variety of sauces. And then in Gardner, there's this little burger place called Blazer Burger, because our mascot's the Trailblazers, and it's still around. It's been there since I don't know how long. And best cheeseburgers, sour cream and chive fries, limeades. It's like an old school burger place, and it's still there. It's good.
Man, that place has survived. How long has it been there?
I don't know. The whole time I lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get a Blazer Burger. All right. Well,
I'm gonna keep talking, but make sure. Speaking of food, Brad, did you put the enchiladas in? Put them in now. Yeah.
A peek into married life. I love it. Honey, did you put the enchiladas in? I love it. Rule number 1 of marriage: make sure the enchiladas are in.
Yeah.
I must have failed because as your pilot on-screen husband, well, things didn't end up
You should have told the other one to put the enchiladas in. Rule number one.
What are you going to do?
On
You're
screen.
either putting in the enchiladas or you're moving out.
Exactly.
That's what they say. All right, Raleigh Cain, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our good listeners about Gardner, Kansas?
You don't need to go in life, but I do think going to a small town anywhere in the US and just talking to the people and going to have a nice burger at their little spot is a nice treat yourself wherever that is, whatever state.
What a wonderful.
What's that country song, The Flyover States? Yeah.
I'll have to listen to it now. A Raleigh Cain recommendation. And thank you so much for joining me today. Floridians, thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time.